Welcome to Comic Power. I'm your host, Comic Killer 72, and welcome to the 5th annual Top 10 Comics of the Year list. Hit it! Can you believe it? Another exciting year has just flown by in the comic books industry. Before I give you the top 10 plus some honorable mentions, here's some ground rules on how this list was put together. Rule number 1, this is for North American comics only. Rule number 2, this list does not include anime or manga, but you may see some of their influence in some of my selections. Number 3, it must be first released in the comic book format only. No graphic novels or comic strips or stuff like that. Rule number 4, it was first released between December 1st, 2018 and December 1st, 2019. Rule number 5, it doesn't have to be superhero related, it can be real world situations. For sci-fi that doesn't look comic booky, it's all welcome. Rule number 6, we're sticking to single issues here. Rule number 7, this is not based on speculation about what's the most valuable comic. However, some of the comics on this list did get popular, found an audience, and did go up in value. In saying that, I will mention print runs, which will be helpful for speculators. And rule number 8, this is my personal list. Before you get triggered about what you think is missing, feel free to post your own top 10 in the comment section below. Alright, one last thing before we get started, we're going to recap all the previous top comics of the year since the inception of this YouTube channel. For 2015, the top comic was Divinity 1 from Valiant Comics. It's a story of a black Russian cosmonaut who leads a space exploration in 1960. He returns to Earth in 2015 with the powers of a god, looking for his long lost wife and his daughter. For 2016, the number 1 comic was The Fix number 1 from Image Comics. It's a hilarious dark comedy about 2 corrupt cops in Los Angeles. It's also an indictment on the sleazy world of Hollywood excess. The number 1 comic for 2017 was God Country number 1 from Image Comics. It's the story of an old man from West Texas with Alzheimer's, and when a tornado hits his house, he finds an enchanted sword which gives him all types of power, but the god who lost the sword wants it back. For 2018, the number 1 pick was Analog number 1, also from Image Comics. Taking place in the near future, a big doxing has happened on the internet, and all the secrets in the world are available for free. To combat the problem, all of the world's secrets are now printed on paper again and transported by human carriers called ledgermen. In this series, we follow the adventures of one of them named Jack McGinnis. As you can see, my previous top comics of the year were all indies and 3 of them were from Image. Will that continue? Well, we'll have to see. Now, without further ado, I present to you the top 10 comics of 2019. Number 10. Thanos number 1 from Marvel Comics. It was the pick of the week for April 24th, 2019. This is a reboot back to number 1, which gives us a miniseries retelling the origin of Gamora, how he adopted her off her home planet. In the movies, the motivation of Thanos is to reduce the population of the galaxy in half to prevent war and suffering over the lack of resources. And achieving all 6 Infinity Stones will help him do that. In the comics, it's a little different. His main motivation in the Infinity Gauntlet in 1991 and in this miniseries is that he's in love with Lady Death and he's trying to impress her. So in this miniseries, we get to see just how Thanos trained Gamora to get the reputation to be the deadliest woman in the galaxy. And of course, she turns against him and teams up with the Guardians of the Galaxy. We also get more backstory on the minions of Thanos known as the Black Order. Issue number 1 sets up an incredible 6-part miniseries. The covers and the interior artwork are all superior, and the writing is top notch, so add this to your collection if you already have it. Number 9. Spawn number 300 from Image Comics. The brainchild of comic legend Todd McFarlane. This is Image Comics' longest running continuous series, and now it's in the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest running independent comic of all time. The story is well known. 7 of Marvel's most famous comic book artists left to start their own company, and they called it Image Comics based on the premise of a creator's rights. In 1992, they start putting out their own creator-owned books. And of course, the most acclaimed was Spawn, the story of an African-American Marine lieutenant colonel doing blackout missions, who gets killed in the line of duty, and he signs a deal with a demon to bring him back to Earth so he can see his wife again, but he's tricked and turned to a hideous hellspawn. The series has a strong list of supporting characters such as the Violator and Angela of Heaven, introduced in issue number 9. The franchise had a very strong animated series on HBO. in a very shaky 1997 live-action movie starring Michael J. White. In 2018, Todd McFarlane signed a deal with Blumhouse Studios, who are best known for low-budget horror movies such as The Purge and Get Out. And actor, comedian, singer Jamie Foxx signed on to play the lead role of Al Simmons, aka Spawn. We'll see how this pans out because Todd McFarlane has the reputation of being very hard to work with. As for issue number 300, it also sports the first appearance of She-Spawn. And leading up to and including issue 300, Todd pays homage to himself with these swiped covers with issue 298, 299, and of course 300, which harkens back to his time when he first got started with Spider-Man. With issue number 298, a cameo of Venom, issue 299, another cameo of Venom, and issue 300, the first full appearance of Venom. So just how long will Spawn keep going on in the comics? Will She-Spawn be an enduring character or just a gimmick? And will the Spawn live action movie reboot actually make it to theaters one day? We'll have to wait and see. But as of right now, Spawn getting to issue number 300 and beyond is something to celebrate. Number 8. Roku, number 1 from Valiant Comics. And this was the pick of the week for October 30th, 2019. This character is a creation of Matt Kent. She's an anti-hero assassin for hire who can use her hair as a weapon, who also has some psychic ability. So think of her as Black Widow meets Medusa meets Jean Grey. She was first introduced in Ninjak number 1 back in 2015, and she was introduced sort of like Elektra to Ninjak's Daredevil. And her origin was explained in Ninjak issue number 4. This is her first miniseries, and she is hired to extract an extremely valuable human asset, and she has to wind up competing against other mercenaries who have been hired to do the same thing. Issue number 1 is a high-paced mercenary thriller. I told you everything you need to know about the character. You can jump right into this. It's a lot of fun. If this is one of your favorite genres, you couldn't do any better than to pick this up. Number 7. Silver Surfer Black, number 1. This was the pick of the week from June 12th, 2019. In this adventure, this fan favorite character has been sucked into a black hole and he's got to find his way out. This is another winner from the mind of Donny Cates, the guy that gave us God Country, in which I named issue number 1 the top comic of 2017. Marvel hired him and turned him loose on Venom, where he redefined the character, and then they turned him loose on Thanos, where he gave us the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Donny has positioned himself as the master of sci-fi superpowered horror. The Silver Surfer was first introduced in issue number 48 of the Fantastic Four, part of the Galactus trilogy, where he was working as a herald of Galactus, trying to find planets for him to eat. The character obviously was influenced by the 1960s surfer craze. When Fox Studios used to own the Fantastic Four, they attempted to try to do the Galactus coming story with uneven results. Silver Surfer looked good, but Galactus did. With the Disney acquisition of Fox, that means that they not only just own the Fantastic Four, they also get back the Silver Surfer and Galactus. In saying that, Silver Surfer Black is a great addition to this character's mythology. Make sure you pick up issue number 1 and take it from there. I can't wait to see what Marvel does with this character in live action. They got plenty of source material to dive into. Number 6. No One Left to Fight, number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. This was the pick of the week for July 3rd, 2019, and it answers the question, what do superheroes do when there's literally no one left to fight? Our lead character is a man named Vale, who's known as the greatest superhero of all time. He even has the championship belt to prove it. He's bored, he's looking for some action, so he reunites his team for one more mission. So it plays on the premise of The Incredibles a little bit, being that you have these superheroes that don't have anything to do, sort of like retired athletes that want action again. Vale is also suffering from blackouts and dizziness that he's trying to downplay. 2 of his teammates are married with children, a man named Timur and a woman named Krista. Timur has always been jealous that Vale and not him is the greatest superhero of all time, and Timur also thinks that Vale is trying to steal his woman. The final straw is when Timur's kids are playing and they want to be their uncle instead of him, and he challenges Vale to a sparring match that gets out of hand real quick. I love the art and the really bright colors in this miniseries. As you can see, it's very influenced by Dragon Ball Z. They have a very big universe of characters, but they're concentrating just on a few, which is a good idea. If this was ever made into a movie, I think that Aaron Taylor Johnson would be a good Vale, James Franco would be a good Timur, and Lupita Nyong'o would be a fantastic Krista. If No One Left to Fight is not in your comic book collection, you're doing yourself a disservice. Number 5. Far Sector number 1 from DC Comics. I named this the pick of the week for November 13th, 2019. It's a story of a rookie Green Lantern named Sojourner Mullien. The area she's patrolling hasn't had a murder in hundreds of years, but now that that streak has been broken, she has to investigate this, and it's a murder mystery. The artist on this is Jamal Campbell. That's the same guy who drew Naomi earlier this year. His art on Far Sector is even better than that. History is also being made because this character is the first black female Green Lantern. Lantern. The diversity in the Green Lantern universe makes sense because the Green Lantern isn't a person, it's a core. All you have to do is be worthy, so anyone could be a Green Lantern. Her name Sojourner is also drawn from history. She's named after Sojourner Truth, a civil rights and women's rights pioneer. Far Sector is number 1 of a 12-part maxi-series. It's the first appearance of Sojourner Mullien in an excellent sci-fi space whodunit. Number 4. The Marked, number 1 from Image Comics. This was my pick of the week for October 16th, 2019. This is the story of a secret society which uses its magic for good against dark forces. And they've been around for a long time. For example, in World War II, as the Allied powers fought against Hitler in the real world, they fought against Hitler's occult, dark, unseen forces. The latest threat that they're battling now is from within. One of their members, a woman named Liza, has been practicing some forbidden hybrid magic, so she winds up getting expelled from the order, and now she's going to seek revenge against them. The Marked is fantastic. Not only are the covers incredible, but the interior artwork is superior as well. The first print is 21,148 copies over 2 different covers. There's a rare 1 per store variant, and there's also a second print variant, so there's plenty to choose from. This is a great mashup of the subculture that's all about tattoos and subcultures that are all about magic. I highly recommend it. Number 3. Detective Comics issue 1000. This was the pick of the week for March 27th, 2019, and it celebrates the 80th anniversary of Batman. He first appeared in Detective Comics number 27 in 1939. Bruce Wayne, the Cape Crusader, the Dark Knight, who defends Gotham with a steely resolve. He is the most popular comic book character of all time, so 1000 issues of the comic that first published him is worthy of some acclaim. Issue 1000 contains several self-contained short stories from different writer and artist team-ups. In one of those stories, we get a reveal of a new villain called the Arkham Knight. The character was first introduced in a video game, but this is a different version. And we later find out in future issues that this Arkham Knight is a woman. As you might expect, this issue sold like gangbusters with 527,000 copies shipped. And DC gave us variant covers influenced by every decade that The Dark Knight was published. Detective 1000 is a 96-page, $10 cover charge salute to The Dark Knight. The Batman reboot in live action comes in summer 2021 with Robert Pattinson playing the lead. Until then, enjoy his adventures in the comics and make sure you own a piece of history with Detective 1000. Number 2. Die, number 1 from Image Comics. This came out in December 2018 when no one was paying attention, but the word of mouth spread on this book very quickly and it went through 5 printings. And it's worthy of the acclaim and the success that it has gotten. The title of the book, Die, isn't like death as in what you saw in the fellow Image comic book, Die, Die, Die. The die of this title is like dice, the type you shoot during a role-playing game. The breakdown of this title goes like this. In 1991, a group of friends get together and engage in a role-playing game similar to Dungeons and Dragons, and they all literally disappear into the game for 2 years, and then one day they come back and everyone comes back except for the game master, and they all agree to not talk about it, similar to like the movie I Know What You Did Last Summer. 25 years pass and they all get together again and decide to go back into the game, and within the game you see the characters assume the identity of the avatars they created, and of course they stumble across their game master who didn't come back when the others did 23 years ago, and he alerts all of them that no one is going home until the game is finished. My fellow YouTuber Professor Thorgy described this as Dark Jumanji. This doesn't surprise me that it's a hit, considering that a lot of comic book fans and role-playing gamers are usually the same people. And the execution of this premise is almost perfect from Kieron Gillen, who's best known for The Wicked and the Divine. He may be one of the most underrated writers in comics today, but this is his breakout. The artwork by Stephanie Hans is just gorgeous. The use of dark, haunting shadows fits the theme perfectly. Die number 1 first print shipped 28,867 copies. If you missed the boat on this, you need to pick up a trade paperback to know what's going on because it's up to 9 issues. And issue number 1 first print is definitely selling for a premium, and that's not going to change. It's only going to keep going up. Die is so good that even if you're not a D&D fan, you'll still love it. Before we get to number 1, let's go over the honorable mention list. A touch of piano, please. Dark Red #1 from Aftershock Comics. It's the story of a man who's secretly a vampire working a dead-end job as a third shift convenience store clerk, but his undead life changes when a mysterious woman shows up. Naomi #1 from DC Comics. It uses the Chosen One archetype. This was a big surprise hit earlier from this year from Brian Michael Bendis, who signed an exclusive deal with DC. He was the creator of Miles Morales back at Marvel. Machine Girl #1 from Red 5 Comics. The story of a genetically enhanced woman who is a champion arena fighter on a foreign planet, but she longs to discover her origins on a forgotten planet called Earth. House of X #1 from Marvel Comics. This is Jonathan Hickman returning on the X-Men saga, giving new dimensions to the X-Men canon. You should pick up the Powers of X miniseries as companion as well. Deceased #1 from DC Comics. When a techno-organic virus has infected millions of people, it's up to our DC heroes to save the day. The Dark Age #1 from Red 5 Comics. This details a bleak future where all the world's metal turns to dust, and how humans form little mini kingdoms competing against each other. It's an excellent premise and a well-told story. Captain Marvel #8 from Marvel Comics. The Captain is viewed with suspicion when it's leaked that she has Kree heritage. It's also the first full appearance of a new character called Star. Is she friend or foe? Reaver #1 from Image Comics. It's a war story with a Middle Ages looking setting with a touch of humor. It looks kind of like Game of Thrones meets the Suicide Squad, with lots of graphic violence but funny when it needs to be. Money Shot #1 from Vault Comics. Told about 20 years in the future, a group of scientists can't get funding for space exploration anymore. Since the government won't finance it, then the porn industry will. So they film themselves having sex with aliens and stream it back to Earth for money to keep funding their missions. It's ludicrous but hilarious. And The Walking Dead issue 193 from Image Comics. This is the final issue from this groundbreaking iconic series. No one could have predicted back in 2003 when this was first launched that it would be so huge, and it would be the source of one of the most popular cable television shows of all time. It made household names out of characters like Rick Grimes, Michonne, and Negan. Congratulations to The Walking Dead for having such a great run. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Now let's get to the #1 comic of 2019. #1. Assassination #1 from Image Comics. This hilarious dark comedy was my former pick of the week for March 13th, 2019. So exactly what is a assassination? Well, first of all, it's a spoof of the Hitman genre. Think of the Hitman video game, but more ruthless. John Wick, but funnier, and Pulp Fiction, but crazier. The story revolves around a former hitman and now a current mob boss, and someone's trying to kill him. The attempts on his life keep coming, and his henchmen are not getting it done, so he goes out and hires 20 of the world's best hitmen. The logic is, who better to protect you from an assassin than an assassin? And what's better than one assassin? 20 assassins. And all of them have interesting aliases such as David Bowie Knife and Desert Regal. The mob boss gathers them all together and it turns into a convention of hitmen. They talk shop and it turns out that it's sort of like a sports league where they actually have rankings. Apparently, assassinating people in this world is sort of like a professional sport. And the lower ranking hitmen are in complete awe of the higher ranking ones. But as you might expect, a clash of egos happens and a big shootout happens. And of the 20 characters that are introduced in issue #1, only 5 of them survive. 15 characters die in the first issue. And over a 5-issue miniseries, despite having the best hitman protectors in the world, the attempts to kill the mob boss just keep escalating anyway. This is the brainchild of Cal Starks. He is a genius of the dark comedy style, and he's best known for writing Rick and Morty over at Oni Press. The art is handled by Erica Henderson, who's best known for Squirrel Girl and is a 2-time Eisner Award nominee. If you love to see spoofs of organized crime, then you couldn't get any more ludicrous than this. The dialogue, the wit, the overall execution of this is nearly perfect. Just look at the cover alone, it gives you an idea about what you're about to witness. It kind of reminds me of Mr. Scarface's Back, the debut album from Ghetto Boy rapper Scarface back in 1991. And despite some strong contenders, Assassination #1 was my king of the mountain for 2019. I advise you to go out and try it. I think you'll like it. Alright folks, that's my top 10 comics of 2019. Feel free to speak up in the comments about what you think of my list. Also feel free to post your own top 10. There's some really good things overall happening in the comic book industry, and I can't wait for 2020. Don't forget to subscribe and also click on the bell for notifications. It'll let you know when a new video is posted. Until next time, this is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying Happy New Year and bye bye.